Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And hello, everyone. I am Dr. Farooq Habib. I am co-founder and director of Alif Technologies, Dubai, and Sharia Experts, London. My background is Sharia, economics, and finance, and I have been focusing on fintech since 2016. And I am very much pleased and honored to be in this session. And I would be sharing some thoughts and views about solving global issues which we are in right now through Islamic finance. So with that, I would like to start my presentation. So as you know that we are already in a situation where we have seen that health crisis have turned into global crisis, and what we are seeing that it has also become not only global crisis in terms of so many other aspects, but also on the front of economic crisis. And then if you look at the COVID impact, then you would see that the impact of COVID-19 on the global financial industry was very huge. There were some concerns from the banking and capital market industries, and there was a very good survey done by PwC. And what they did is basically they asked that what are the top concerns of the banking and capital markets industries. So if you look at it, you can see that 71% of the respondents says that the highest and the most important concern at the moment is financial impact, including effects on results of operations, future periods, and liquidity and capital resources. That was the biggest concern. And then if you look at the second biggest concern was basically potential global recession. So we might be facing it, and 64% of the respondents basically said that we are concerned about it. And that is basically the second most important concern. And then the third most important concern was basically the effects on our workforce, reduction in productivity. So what we are seeing is there are so many inefficiencies in the banking industry at the moment, and then the banking and the capital market industry overall have to tackle with this. And then we also see a decrease in consumer confidence, and reducing consumption is another problem. So for example, more people are more towards saving in cash. They want to save in cash rather than having some more loans for their businesses. Business expansion is basically again at a halt. And because of that, what we have seen is that the banking industry is again has concern about its own growth. And supply chain disruptions were also one of the major concerns among the respondents. So you can see and you can wrap your mind around these areas and see and can sense the overall condition of the banking and capital markets industry. And if you look at what are the consequences of those concerns and what are the steps that have been taken by the conventional financial industry at the global level, so you have seen that those concerns have been translated into reduction in operations, collections, and disbursement. For example, 19% of the operations have been reduced. So there are inefficiencies growing. And we also see loan collection has been reduced also by 16%. And then there is a reduction in the loan disbursement by 20%. So you can see that there is an issue of recovery, there is an issue of collection, disbursement, and overall operations. And then we can see that Islamic finance industry asset. If you look at and focus on the Islamic finance industry, you would see that the assets showed a strong growth in the pre-COVID era, but COVID-19 has been a setback for the industry. And right now, the current snapshot of the Islamic finance industry, if you look at, you will see that there are almost 1,500 Islamic financial institutions globally, and 536 billion value of outstanding sukuk. and 137 billion value of Islamic funds there. So it's like a huge industry still, and it can basically grow exponentially in the post-COVID era. And we have seen some huge investments in the Islamic fintech, which I will be touching upon later in my slides. So, but we have seen that there is a potential now in the investment side, on the investment sides on Islamic fintech rather than traditional Islamic finance. So that is basically, for example, robo advisory in the Islamic finance is on the rise, and then digital banking and other digitalization, for example, like complete digital banks and digital assets are basically on the rise in the Islamic fintech industry. But we would be talking about it later in my slide. So just wanted to give you a snapshot that although we have been hit very hard by the COVID, but Islamic finance industry seems to be recovering. So you can see that like in the pre-COVID era, we had a growth of 13.9%, which came to zero in 2019 and 20. But now we can see that moving forward from 2021, we will see a 5% on average growth in the post-COVID era. So with that, we are seeing some opportunities and some good signals from the market. And we will see that tokenization of sukuk, social finance growth, for example, waqf, zakat is on the rise. Impact investment and ESG compliance is also very important. UN SDGs are also coming into play. Bank digitization these are basically the opportunities which are rising for Islamic finance in the post-COVID-19 era. So but again, back to basic, that what is the value proposition of Islamic finance now, given in the era of global pandemic and economic crisis, lockdowns, and also slower economic activities. So again, if you look at the Sharia itself, what Sharia has identified, if you look specifically from the Islamic finance angle, you will see sustainability, stability, social and ethical values are actually the topmost priority of Islamic finance and even for Sharia. So you can actually map UN SDGs according to Maqasid al-Sharia, the objective of Sharia, and then you can see that like how Islamic finance can address them. So these are basically in this slide, I wanted to basically highlight that how Maqasid al-Sharia, the objectives of Sharia, are actually aligned with the goals of sustainability, stability, social and ethical values. And then what we have seen, I want to also highlight that zakat, qard hasan, social sukuk, sadaqah, microfinance, takaful and waqf, these tools can be utilized more, because we have already seen for decades that how commercial Islamic finance work. And then again, it's a good growth there. And we also have seen that it's flourishing. And even in the post-COVID era, we would see that the commercial aspect of Islamic finance would be a very good alternative to the conventional one. But what we need to bring in is basically the social Islamic finance, the social aspect also. So through these instruments. So this is basically much more needed in the post-COVID era, because what we have talked about the negative GDP, we have talked about inflation, high rise of inflation and high rise of unemployment rate. So these, and poverty, of course, so these can be tackled only through these social Islamic finance tools. But again, another thing which I think that is a huge phenomena, and it is also on the rise, is Islamic fintech, because the future is digital. So what is Islamic fintech? Islamic fintech is about developing and offering improved Sharia compliant financial products and services through the use of latest technology. So like we are talking about artificial intelligence, we are talking about blockchain, smart contracts, IoT devices, big data analytics, and machine learning, etc. So these are the advanced technology that can basically improve the Islamic finance offerings, and then hence can transform the traditional Islamic finance into Islamic fintech. So, but again, the Sharia compliance is again the backbone of Islamic fintech here. So we need to have a strong Sharia governance framework, including standards, parameters, review and audit mechanisms, and risk management. So if you look at the whole Islamic fintech framework, so we have services. Number one, all the services which are being offered by the traditional Islamic financial industry. And then we can introduce technology even not only on the front office, but also at the middle and back offices, and then utilize some technologies, for example, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, big data, mobile technology, open banking, P2P finance, blockchain, cloud adoption, cybersecurity, and can serve our consumers, businesses, and financial institutions in a very, very comprehensive and better way. Now, what are the issues and challenges? I think that this is basically the last section of my presentation. So from the fiqh perspective, also there are so many challenges and issues, and we need to have an army, or I can say a new breed of Sharia scholar who can also understand technology, who can ensure that be it Islamic DeFi or Islamic fintech, we need to ensure and think out of the box that how to avoid riba, gharar, maisir, fraud, deception, and coercion, because these are all actually are coming into a new form. When you are talking about technology, for example, so it is very difficult, complex, but yet innovative at on the other hand to address those issues. For example, ownership and possession and transfer of virtual subject matter, how it can be done, how can you avoid gharar and maisir type of or gambling like transactions in that setting. For example, we are talking about algorithmic trading and transactions being done by algorithms, and those algorithms can be improvised and enhanced through machine learning and deep learning. So they can learn themselves, and then they can act on behalf of a customer, be it individual or an institution, to do transactions. So whether those transactions can be seen from the Sharia perspective as permitted is again a question, for example. So we need to basically tackle these issues in an efficient manner. So we need a new breed of talented and skilled people. So this is my presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be looking forward to the panel discussion. Thank you so much.